So this has been far too long coming, guys and gals. Thanks for your patience. I just wanted to do a follow-up to the PooDLE NooDLE insert video that I did previously. So I've had a bit of a hiatus from riding for a while, as a bunch of things have gone crazy in life, upside down and backwards, and we've relocated and all kinds of fun stuff. And there's not a lot of trails in the area that I'm in, so I'm starting to find some more. So hopefully I'll have a couple of videos out this coming couple of months, and check out some of the stuff out in Atlantic Canada. I did really want to follow up though with this PooDLE NooDLE insert thing because, well, it's a little controversial, but honestly, I'm a little bit shocked at how well it's performed. I'm a lot bit shocked at how well it's performed. It feels good when you ride it. It provides a lot of protection for the sidewalls, but for the rims, more importantly, was the thing for me. I'm not a lightweight rider, and I don't particularly go easy on the bike. I like to kind of push my limits and learn when I ride, right? That's the whole point of doing this. So this has been a really interesting experiment for me, and I hope for you too. It's been, I think it's been a couple of years now. I might have a full season of riding in on these things, so I don't want to make it sound like I've been riding them for the full time that it's been since the last video was done. It's certainly not the case. However, I have ridden a fair bit on them, and I have not changed my opinion. I think they work great, and for the money and the work that's involved, they're a really fantastic solution. I also want to mention too that, and I think I mentioned this in the last video, there are a number of different options in terms of the shape and the size of the noodles that you use that can really change things up a lot in terms of the protection that you get, in terms of the weight, in terms of the absorption of the sealant and whatever else. So there's lots of different factors in there, but today I'm going to crack open this well, both of the wheels, I guess, and we'll have a bit of a look at what's happened inside. I can tell you though, both of my season startups have been without consequence to having this weird stuff in my tires. I've actually used probably less coolant than I've used in the past. Less coolant. I've used less sealant. I haven't used any coolant whatsoever. It's been remarkable. I've used hardly any sealant as well, and partly I think I attribute that to, keeping that on the rim better. But I also think that some of the sealant that's been absorbed into the noodle helps, I think, to keep it pliable or pourable fluid, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and still do a little bit of work where it might not have otherwise been able to do it. It would have dried out and been on the outside or the inside of the tire casing. And I'm suspecting when we open this up that if I compress the foam of the noodle, I'm thinking that we'll see that some live fluid still can come out of that. So otherwise, I have no explanation for it. These tires have sealed up both of the last two seasons after only one or two inflates and a couple of short rides. So I don't have a lot bad to say about this yet. So I really don't have a lot of complaints about this system. It's worked really well. Understanding, there's a couple of caveats with it. It isn't the professional solution. It's not extensively tested and developed, but it's a really cheap and effective solution. So a couple of things that I want to highlight with it. There's an X-shaped noodle that I found that I think would actually be far better than this one. I'll throw a picture up of that so you can check that out. Something to keep an eye out for if you're interested in trying this. That will help you with the issue where with the grooving that I did on the inside of the insert, so that when you push in your valve, you don't run into the situation where it's getting blocked by the tube, which you can see despite my best tries here, I do still have that issue. It's not a big deal. It's just a matter of taking the valve core out and just sticking a, an Allen key or something down there, and it clears it out real fast, and you can air down easy peasy. Anyway, without further ado, let's have a bit of a look at what's going on here. I had a couple of things that I do want to kind of test out a little bit and give you a little more science behind some of this. Not going to be horribly accurate, but I think it's worth going through a couple of things to sort of analyze the difference between the two solutions. Oh yeah, I should mention between the two solutions, I'm going to take the PooDLE noodles out, despite the fact that they performed incredibly well, and I'm going to throw in a set of nuke-proof ARDs. I'm interested to see the comparison. So these are a little bit of a different insert. They're not exactly dollars for dollars what the other ones do, but in terms of what I'm looking for in rim protection, this really fits the bill. It's super lightweight. This is lighter than the noodles, but I'm really interested from a performance standpoint to see if they're that much better than the $1.50, whatever it is, for a PooDLE noodle solution. So stay tuned for that. I will not take 2 years to do a review on these, I promise. Just wanted to follow up on the whole thing and then round it out a little bit with a comparison. So looking forward to trying that, and hopefully you'll stick around for that and come and check it out. In the meantime, let's rip into this PooDLE noodle insert and see what's going on with that thing inside the wheel. First of all, I want to have a look at something that I kind of tried to put in the first video, and that's how it responds, how the tires and the wheels respond under some duress. So in this particular case, I'm going to just use my saw here as a nice sharp corner and a reference point, just so we can kind of compare apples to apples with the inserts at different pressures and with the different scenarios that we kind of are talking about here. So for the sake of science, I ride with 20 pounds roughly in my front tire and 23 in my back tire. This one I think is at about 22 pounds right now, just because I wanted to make sure it was seating up well, which I just didn't have any leaks. So that's about where I am. So you can see here, I was going to use a weight or something to try to bring a little more science into it, but I'm just going to try my best to keep it pretty accurate in terms of the amount of pressure that I'm putting on it, and so you can see what's going on here. So I'm not a slouch. I got some weight to me. Shocker. So you can see here, given a really good hit against that corner, is collapsing the tire a fair bit. I can actually feel it hitting the insert as I do it, and it's stopping me really effectively. That's a hard hit. It's stopping me really effectively from actually impacting on the rim, which is pretty impressive. Now, I'm sure that doesn't qualify it to when, I'm over 100 pounds, I'm over 200 pounds, I'm under 300 pounds. But when I ride, I don't ride light. I use the equipment for what it's made for. And I'm not suggesting that this would be equal to the kind of impact force that you would have on the trail. However, this is a really sharp 90-degree corner, and I'm really leaning into this. So it's just to give you a relative comparison of how these respond. Okay, I think I did a quick, I don't need to do a compare of what it's like with just the regular air. You guys can check that out and you know what that's like. So again, 22 pounds in this tire right now at the moment. If you want to see what that looks like, go ahead. So leading into it, you can see I can push it right down there, and right at that bottom end, I'm actually hitting on that noodle inside the tire here. So kind of interesting at that weight. Let's break it down and take it down to a whole lot less, and we'll see where we end up. So here you can see, I don't know if you can see. So I'm just going to show you really quickly here, when you have that blockage on the other side, how easy it is really to just deal with it. It's not that big a deal. Okay, so I'm just going to show you here what happens. So when you can't get the air out, you can see there's a bit of air coming out, but not anytime soon. are we going to be able to bleed out that tire? So basically you just want to pull your core out, and you're either going to find that that will be sufficient to bleed the air out, or, and I'm already feeling a fair bit of air coming out of that. Now failing that, if that hadn't been sufficient, then that's when I'm going to grab just a small Allen key or whatever and push it in, and then push it against that insert. So I can actually feel in there that, yeah, the insert wasn't the issue. So it's just my core that was causing the difficulty in deflating it. So I'm going to just drop the core back in, because I will lose it. Snug it down some. Okay. I'm going to leave it locked open. And let's go back over here to my 90-degree corner. So you can see with no weight on the tire, this is just rolling it up against the corner. It's still preventing, even after this really long time, and I've gone for several rides on it, it hasn't broken down to the point where it's not doing what I want it to do. So if I lean into it some, you can see it's still squashing, it's going down, but that's not, I don't know if you can tell from that angle or not, but I'm not actually contacting the metal on that at all. I still have quite a bit of insert on both sides of that rim protecting it. So I'm not going to say that this is going to save your bacon if you have to ride out of the forest on it, but you're going to save your rim from getting damaged under a lot of circumstances. And if you get a full puncture flat, you're still going to have something protecting your rim. If you wanted to try to ride out with a little bit of weight, you know, shift your weight to the back of the bike or the front of the bike, whatever, just to get you out of a, you know, 10 kilometers in or 8K in or something like that, you're going to have an option here that's going to at least be an option to walking the bike out. So really interesting. Yeah, I can still feel that thing is still intact. You know what? This sounds really stupid, but I almost hate taking this apart. This is working so well. I'm actually completely shocked at how well it's worked. I really am. That's ridiculous. I gotta be honest with you. I did not expect it to work that well. I gotta be honest with you. I am shocked that it worked this well. I did not expect it to work so well. I am totally amazed. I really, truly am. All right. So let's have a look at what's inside here. I'm interested to know how this looks at the end of the day. I don't want to, I'm going to try and not touch things as much as possible here just for the sake of scientific argument. This is interesting, actually. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to make sure you can see that. So this is what we've got along the outside edge. So I've got some dried up sealant, probably from this round. I'm going to guess this isn't from the previous because I haven't opened this up for a very long time. And they were fairly clean when I put the tube in there. Wow, this is shocking. So not knowing at all what to expect in here, that thing looks very, very, very similar to when I put it in there. Guys, I am shocked at this. This is not what I expected at all. I expected the material to be broken down, falling apart, and looking really ugly. I expected brittle. I expected slashes and gouges. This is a little bit shocking, honestly. So I can see where I glued it together. Now this has come apart, and over here I can see a hit from an impact where that saved my butt and may have actually saved my rim because that's right through. But I am shocked at what I'm seeing here. Another big impact over here, another one over here. I gotta be honest, guys, I expected a lot of material degradation in here. It's been 2 years. I can't believe my eyes. Wow. Don't want to touch my rotor with this. And I think I might have already, but so check this out. Now, this is actually really validating exactly what I was thinking. For whatever reason, this foam is keeping my sealant very fluid. I don't fully understand that. Now, I don't have a lot of fluid left, a lot of sealant left in the bottom, as you can see, but somehow it's still working. And like I thought, it does absorb some. There's no question about it. I'm not going to deny that this absorbs a fair bit of sealant. I had to use probably twice the amount of sealant that I normally use to keep it this way. But I haven't topped this up in at least a season and a half, which is unbelievable, and it's held incredibly well. So you can see there's definitely some absorption in there, but it definitely only goes so far as well. It is definitely not soaking it up like a sponge, as some people have said that it would. Guys, I am shocked at that. I am absolutely shocked. That is in way better condition than I ever expected. And you can see, I'm not kidding around here. I've used this. I've hit some stuff. Okay, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's doing its job very well. I honestly, I can't tell you how shocked I am. What the heck? That's insane. Okay. Honestly, that completely backs me up on the fact that I wasn't sure I should be taking this apart. I was... that's insane. I can't even believe that. I'm shocked. I have to say, I am beyond pleasantly surprised with that. Having a look inside the casing, there's nothing to speak of in there. There's some gumming up, I mean, like you get with sealant as it sits. And guys, this sat over 2 winters. This is remarkable. I am shocked at that. Can't get over it. So I'm going to keep this as simple and straightforward as I can. I'm not going to change anything but the insert, so that there's no argument about what in the world did I do or how did I do it. I'm going to swap out the insert. I'm going to put the minimum recommended sealant back in it again and seal it up, and I'm going to try it. I went into this thinking, what a ridiculous thing, but it might be a cool way to save a few bucks and get an upgrade to my riding situation. I'll be out in the bush a lot, and I'll be, you know, away from civilization, I'm going to say. And I don't want to hold back on something just because I'm afraid of getting a puncture and having to walk out. I've had to walk out before. I've had to walk 8 kilometers before. It's not a big deal, but it would have been nice to not have to walk 8 kilometers before. So let me just grab something and have a look at these ARD inserts, which have been sitting quietly in my shop for a year and a half, I think, give or take. I've been excited to try these as well, and it's just time. So as disappointed as I am to take those things out and see that they're in such great condition, it's time to throw these ones in and check out the difference. So the ARD is a little bit unique in the way that it's constructed, the material that it's constructed with. Obviously, this is much, much harder than the noodle foam, so I expect that this will have much more resistance, but let's drop her in here. I expect that this will be exactly like everybody else's review of these things. They are very good at what they do for the price, the cost. They're not the most expensive insert. They're a good, reasonable budget price insert. And Nuke Proof is quite reputable with their products, in my opinion. I've never run into any issues or concerns with it. It always just does what I want it to do. So I don't expect that these inserts would be any different. Pretty simple. Now let's have a look at how these things sit inside there as well. So get a close-up of this, and you can see not a lot of side-to-side play. That thing is seated quite hard in the channel. It's right in there, and so any impact that I get, clearly I'm going to have this protection in here, just exactly like I had the Noodle. Though it's firmer material, you can see some of the goop in there that's hardened up, but less of it than what I had with the Noodle stuff. So this is going to be very interesting. I am quite intrigued at how this turns out. So let's see here. So the seating and everything in the Noodle material wasn't that big a deal. It's not very hard. This stuff is a little bit tighter sitting in the rim, so obviously it's a little bit more of a trick to seat it in there and get the bead situated properly, but I'm not having any issue with it. I expect it'll probably get a little bit harder once I close it down to the last little bit. Whoops. But before I do that, yeah, you can see how I had to sort of push it in a little bit there to get it to seat underneath of that. Not a big deal. I'm just sort of lifting it up as I put it in. Not that big a deal to slot it into place. A little bit more of a process is all. It's not your super fast rubber change, but it's not complicated. So let me go and grab some sealant, because I didn't think that far ahead, unfortunately. And I'm going to throw some in there. Let's get this thing buttoned back up again, and we'll have a comparison look at what we just looked at with 0 pressure and with 22 pounds for comparison's sake. Okay, so I'm back. Apologies for the delay. So, working in a new shed that I built here, and things are not exactly the way that I have them normally. Anyway, so I'm going to use Joe's No Flats. This is, how do I compare this stuff to Stan's? I believe it's the equivalent of the Stig's American cousin to Stan's. This stuff works pretty well. It isn't the same composition. It has much different characteristics, and it seals a little bit differently. I have not had any issues or problems with it so far. It's worked quite well for me, and you can see from the inside of the tire, it does what it's supposed to do. So no complaints, and it's about half the price of Stan's, interestingly enough. So I'm going to carefully add my 2 ounces. Standard amount. And hopefully that will do me, unless I have some kind of unexpected blowout, as can happen from time to time. I'm not even going to clean up that rim or anything. I'm just going to drop it in there and run with everything exactly the way that it was. Now, so this is where you're going to run into some issues with these inserts. What you'll find is exactly what I'm seeing here right now. Because that insert is sitting where it's sitting, you're not able to get your usual pull over the outside of the wheel, because you're not able to get the bottom side of the tire into the channel of the rim. So you're going to have to work a little bit harder to get it up over the edge is all. Unless, I mean, you could go in and you could be a little more aggressive with it, I'm sure, but oh, maybe I'll have to. What you doing? So now that I've got a little bit of pressure on that side, I'm going to see if I can drop it down a little on this side. And that's going to be, that wasn't really a thing with the other inserts. try to push it down a little bit further. Because quite honestly, guys, and I'm sure a lot of you know this already, and I'm preaching to the choir, but these tools, these levers, most of the time aren't needed unless you get a brand of tire that's really tight. A lot of the time, just by folding in the bottom end inside the rim channel there, you can just roll the top edge around and not have to play games with it. And we're really close here. Really close to the camera too. There, see? Even with that insert in there, you can still do it. It's just a little more work. All right, so we're seated up. We're not seated up, but we're installed. Just gonna go around the bead really quick and kind of pull it in since I pushed it down into the center channel. Because as I do this first part, I want to make sure we're still pretty apples to apples. All right. So let's have a look. No air, and I don't want the letters to take away from what you're seeing. No air in the tire, as you can see. So this is kind of no weight on the wheel at all. This is just the rollover. So I'm going to put a little bit of weight onto it now, and I'm still no impact on the rim. But as you can see, I'm sure from the camera, I've only got about maybe an eighth of an inch, between an eighth and a quarter, maybe in there somewhere. I'm Canadian, don't ask me what that means. On my edges. So, you know, there is more potential for some more side impact damage there, but it's still squarely covering the inside of my rim, no question about it. And that's with that much more difficult to compress material that the ARDs are made out of versus the PooDLE noodle. So where it had the advantage in thickness, this has the advantage in durability, I'm going to say. So that's coming up, quite honestly, apples to apples. I can feel some differences. This is interesting to me. The compression depth, I should have tried to note that on the other one a little bit better, but I don't have as much feedback zone, as I'm going to call it, as I had with the PooDLE noodle. It came up about this far inside the tire, whereas these ARDs, they're way down here. They're not coming up very high at all. So I can tell you right off the bat, that's going to change the dynamics of my tire roll while I ride. When I'm going around a corner and that tire shifts side to side, that's going to change the amount of pressure I need in my tires compared to what I was used to with those noodles. So that's already one thing I'm going to have to adjust to, I can tell you right out of the gate, which is a little bit weird, actually. I don't want to say that puts the PooDLE noodles up a notch, but it is an advantage that they had. I'm going to say it like that. All right, so let's get some tire pressure back in here. Okay, so that gives us our 22 pounds, and that's slightly higher than I normally ride, for my front tire at least. But because I had 22 on the other one, I want to make sure that we're looking at the exact same thing here as we had with that noodle insert. All right, let's have a look. Same tire, same day, same air, same conditions. Should be the same pressure. So, okay, so you can tell right out of the gate, a little bit of pressure on there. Now, interesting thing, just getting acquainted with that, I'm definitely feeling it hit much, much later in the compression. No question about that. So there's a lot more free airspace. Oops, pardon me. I may be pushing a little bit harder, clearly. There's a little more free airspace, and there's more compliance in that rubber before it hits the insert, but there's absolutely no question that insert is still there and I'm still feeling it. So it's going to do what it needs to do. But anyway, that's the rudimentary science of it. I don't know if I can show you anything more further than that to really back up what I'm saying here, but I am shocked, guys and gals. I did not expect those pool noodles to do as well as they did, especially over time like that. I'm absolutely shocked. Anyway, you know what? I like a surprise like that. That's fantastic. I hope that helps some of you get into using inserts that you might not have had the opportunity to use otherwise because of the cost. I will ride these for a while and probably do another video or so on these inserts just to get a feel for them and to understand the differences between them on the trail, because that's where it really matters. And I'll put up my opinion again after that just to keep you up to date. But I don't know about you, but I am absolutely shocked at the results of that one. I expected that to be a little bit more ridiculous, and wow, it was ridiculous a completely different way than I thought. So thanks so much, guys and gals, for tuning in. And if you like this stuff, subscribe. If you don't care. I just do this for fun and to encourage people. So get out on the trail, learn something new every time you ride, and remember, live real life, live life for real. In the meantime, see you on the trails.